Right now at 5 o'clock, a huge opportunity for the city of Indianapolis and the state if everything is ironed out. The entire NCAA tournament could be held in central Indiana, and there's a specific reason why.
If you've recovered from COVID-19, there's a very specific way that you can help those who are now hospitalized with the virus. Those details coming up.
And tonight we are learning more about the two companies making headway on making a COVID vaccine. We'll explain the differences between the Pfizer vaccine and Moderna's.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5, streaming now.
Now first at 5, Indianapolis could wind up hosting the entire men's Division I NCAA basketball tournament in a few months, not just the Final Four. Thanks for joining us. I'm Amanda Starantino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. The NCAA revealed today that it is in preliminary talks to host the entire 2021 men's tournament in the Circle City. The NCAA said the Division I men's basketball committee has been looking into the most effective way to conduct a safe and healthy March Madness. The statement says the committee has decided that the championship should be held in a single geographic area. As a result, NCAA staff are in preliminary talks with the state of Indiana and the city of Indianapolis to potentially host the entire 68-team tournament around the metro area in March and April. Indianapolis is already slated to host the Final Four from April 3rd through the 5th. Mayor Joe Hogsett released the following statement, quote, "Indiana has a reputation for hosting the most successful major sporting events in the country, including 8 Final Fours. Our city also boasts some of the nation's top health professionals whose expertise will be crucial in planning for a safe tournament. We are confident that thanks to the collaboration of our city's civic organizations and the strength of our hospitality industry, Indianapolis can rise to the challenge. We look forward to continued conversations with the NCAA," end quote.
In this statement from Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb, quote, "This is a unique opportunity for our state to support one of the country's most beloved sporting events, and we will do all we can to support the NCAA's efforts moving forward. We know this change impacts others around the country, but we believe Indiana is uniquely positioned to host such a one-of-a-kind tournament and do it safely." And of course, we wouldn't be talking about this if it was not for the pandemic. And now the push is on to get people who have recovered from COVID-19 to donate their plasma. Right now, there is a shortage. And as our Alyssa Donovan explains, plasma from those who have had the virus can be used to help those still fighting it.
Last week, Versity Blood Center distributed 5 times more plasma to Indiana hospitals than they had in previous weeks, 300 units. And now their stock is running low, just as more patients are hospitalized that could benefit from a plasma treatment. Right now, Versity needs people who have recovered from COVID-19 to come forward and donate their plasma in order to help others suffering from the virus.
When we transfuse this plasma from a recovered individual to someone who's in the hospital clinically ill, it's called passive antibody treatment. And these antibodies help fight the infection. Dr.
Dan Waxman with Versity Blood Center says anywhere you donate blood, your donation is tested for antibodies. The American Red Cross has been able to send donors over to Versity to donate plasma.
When people get their results back, they can actually use those results, answer a questionnaire if they had the antibody, and they would become a candidate for convalescent plasma.
John Mead, who regularly donates blood, was shocked to learn he had COVID-19.
I was pretty surprised when it came back positive.
Mead had minimal symptoms of the virus back in April.
I just thought, okay, I've got a bad onset of allergies, and that's why I can't smell anything, can't taste anything.
He decided to donate plasma to help people who are fighting the virus. He's donated every week for 3 months.
Each time a person donates, 3 to 4 patients can be treated.
But the need for plasma is increasing, just as the stock is running low.
This morning in our freezer, we had just over 100 units of plasma in our freezer. Those 100 units could be used within a couple of days.
As more physicians are using the convalescent plasma treatment and more people are getting hospitalized, Dr. Waxman is worried that soon they won't be able to provide this life-saving treatment to those who need it.
It's something that we can only get from people who've had the infection. We can't create this in a laboratory. We can't get it in from a pharmaceutical company.
Which is why he's encouraging anyone who's recovered from the virus to donate. I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
To learn more about donating plasma or to schedule an appointment, you can visit our website, WRTV.com, and click on this story.
Now to today's coronavirus numbers in Indiana, and after a record spike to over 8,000 new cases Saturday, the numbers dropped a bit yesterday and again today, but they are still very high. Today, the State Health Department reported 5,218 new cases. Those results recorded between November 5th and yesterday. The state is also reporting 26 more deaths of people with COVID. They occurred between Friday and yesterday. The statewide total since March is nearly 4,700. Hospitalizations of COVID or suspected COVID patients are at an all-time new high here, 2,768 statewide as of yesterday. A COVID-19 data expert calls Indiana's latest case and hospitalization numbers frightening. Dr. Brian Dixon is the Director of Public Health Informatics at the Regent Street Institute in Indianapolis, which helps advise state health officials.
This increase, this trend in new cases really began back in late September and have just carried through till now. So we've seen no signs of decline over the last several weeks. And Indiana, along with other states in the Midwest and of course the U.S. as a whole, is on what many are calling an exponential growth path, which means if we don't act, then we will continue to see numbers go even higher.
Dr. Dixon is also a professor with the IU Fairbanks School of Public Health. He says the increase in cases is not a result of increased testing, but rather COVID-19 is rapidly spreading throughout our community. Dixon says if you take a group of 10 people, 2 of them are likely to have the virus.
We're seeing positivity well over 10%, and we're seeing positivity increase about 1% every few days. And that means that there's a lot more cases out in the community, and there's a high level of community spread happening, and it's happening in almost every county of the state. So this tells us that the virus is just sort of running rampant through the population.
Dr. Dixon says state leaders need to consider imposing restrictions that will make an impact on rising cases and hospitalizations. He recommends families limit their holiday gatherings to small groups or just immediate family.
Indiana is not alone. Cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are up in much of the country. But today, a big sign of hope in the race for a vaccine. A second manufacturer is reporting very promising results. ABC's Rena Roy reports.
All 50 states are battling a surge in COVID-19 cases. The U.S. averaging nearly 145,000 new infections daily. But there is some promising news on the vaccine front.
Vaccines really are on the horizon. In fact, we now have real data in large phase 3 trials showing that they are safe and effective at preventing COVID-19.
Moderna, now the second pharmaceutical company to announce its vaccine is more than 90% effective. It can be stored at regular refrigeration temperatures, unlike Pfizer's, which could make distribution easier.
We hope that because of Moderna and Pfizer's vaccines, which we've already been producing, to have enough by the end of December to vaccinate 20 million of our most vulnerable citizens.
But health experts say widespread vaccination could take months as local authorities scramble to contain the virus.
I am very concerned. We need to make sure that we slow down the spread.
Hard-hit El Paso, Texas now has inmates wheeling the dead out of the medical examiner's office into mobile morgues. Bonnie Nahara of Texas mourning the loss of 6 family members from the virus, including her parents.
We're going to have empty chairs that will never, ever be filled again.
Meantime, the governor of New Jersey announcing new restrictions today, limiting indoor gatherings ahead of the holidays.
We're urging everybody to keep their Thanksgiving plans as small as possible because we know that indoor gatherings and homes are particularly dangerous places for COVID-19 to spread.
New Mexico entering a 2-week statewide lockdown today with hospitals overwhelmed.
Our healthcare workers are tired. We are beyond capacity.
Right now, nearly 70,000 people are hospitalized with the virus in the U.S., surpassing records set in April, according to the COVID Tracking Project. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
And financial markets also liked the news about Moderna's vaccine results. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at a record high today, erasing the last of its pandemic losses. The Dow was up more than 470 points to close just shy of 30,000. The S&P 500 also added to the record high it reached Friday.
How about that? The market is up, our wind is down. That's a relative term, down compared to yesterday. More on that in a second. Indy with some sunshine today. Temperatures in the low 50s. The story is the cooler air that's on the way for the next couple of days. The wind was still whipping the flag around. This is at my father-in-law's house. He's watching right now, I'm sure. Bob and Pat Edelman. Hello. Good evening to you guys. The wind has calmed down. 66 yesterday as far as the peak wind gust, 28 today. We've still got a windy stretch here through early afternoon tomorrow. Our temperatures that are in the 50s now will be in the 30s tomorrow morning. The cooler air that lingers to the north will sweep down. We'll talk about when that leaves and what's ahead late week coming up.
Kevin, thank you. A solemn and somber scene in Indianapolis today as the Indianapolis Fire Department mourns the loss of one of their own. This morning, longtime co-workers of firefighter Matthew Bennett led a procession through city streets to escort his body from Community North Hospital to Crown Hill Cemetery. Bennett died Saturday. He would have turned 50 next month. On Friday, Bennett drove a fire truck to the scene of a possible building collapse when he complained of chest pains. He was taken to the hospital for surgery but died Saturday morning. Bennett had 23 years experience as a firefighter and was assigned to the Indianapolis Fire Department Station 1 on West 10th Street. Funeral arrangements are still pending.
Still ahead on WRTV, kids are online even more now with school going virtual. And with more Central Indiana schools transitioning to online learning, we are working for you to keep them safe from online threats. And more than half a century since the IU football team reached these heights, number 9 in the nation in a matchup against the Big Ten's best on the horizon. More from the Hoosiers coming up. Students in Wayne Township are now back to 100% virtual learning as of today, 2 weeks ahead of Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogstad's November 30th deadline. More will follow this week and next. Today is also the day we get updated numbers from the state regarding the impact of the virus on schools. Now, it shows an increase of 2,311 students who have tested positive from last week's numbers. The results recorded between September 17th and Friday. That makes more than 8,200 positive student cases overall. Students between the ages of 10 and 19, mostly middle through high school, make up more than 80% of all student COVID-19 cases. However, this is not a complete picture. There are still 397 schools who have not reported their COVID-19 cases to the state health department.
With more and more kids taking online classes, how safe are your children from online threats? Consumer reporter John Mattery shows us what every parent should check for so you stay safe and don't waste your money.
Online learning is no longer a novelty, and while many of the glitches and Zoom bombings of last spring have now been fixed, experts say children still face many threats. Anisha Collins is the mom of an elementary school student learning remotely. She worries what her son is exposed to when she's not watching.
I already don't want my son on the iPad and computer a lot because it's like when we get on there, he's already on YouTube.
Laura Pipitone has 2 young children remote learning. Here's one of them at her home desk.
It's hard.
But she says it's still frustratingly glitch-filled.
Especially on the iPads, which the younger kids get. Like the Google Meet will freeze and I have to log out and log back in every session.
She's afraid to leave her youngest one alone at the computer.
Parents are kind of expected to be in the room. So I feel like I'm doing kindergarten all over again.
But distractions aren't the biggest concern of kids spending most of their day online. Scammers and predators know that lots of kids are on their computers right now.
The number of threats continue to rise because kids are spending more time online. Then, you get things like Zoom bombing where suddenly there's someone in there screaming racial epithets or, someone less than fully clothed shows up in the video.
Security expert Dave Hatter of Intrust IT says parents should take 4 basic security steps. 1, make sure your Wi-Fi router is not using the default password.
It's difficult for parents to stay on top of this, but the bad guys, on the other hand, they'll learn what the cool thing is because they know that's where kids will be.
2, update your PC and software, which patches holes hackers look for.
Installing the Windows updates, absolute must. But you got to make sure you're updating Zoom as well. You got to make sure you're updating the other software that you're using.
3, instruct your children to watch for strangers on TikTok, Instagram, and other sites.
Warn your kids about this sort of thing. Tell them don't give out personal information to anyone you don't know.
And 4, consider parental control software for younger children like NetNanny. PC Mag also suggests Custodio, Kaspersky Safe Kids, or Norton Family Premier. Some of these will run your computer through a VPN to encrypt your data.
I always feel like hands-on is better.
Anisha Collins just can't wait for full-time school to return.
I wish they were back in school. Yeah.
Finally, make sure your school follows safe Zoom guidelines, such as all guests must be invited in. That way there's no surprises and you don't waste your money. I'm John Matteries, WRTV.
Basketball season will be getting started soon in Bloomington, but IU fans are in no hurry to look past the football team just yet. The Hoosiers improved to 4-0 with a win Saturday at Michigan State. Indiana climbed one more spot in this week's Associated Press Top 25. Their number 9 ranking is the highest since 1967. That IU team went to the Rose Bowl. This IU team is getting ready to face Ohio State. It'll be a true test of the Hoosiers' progress against the Big Ten's perennial favorite.
One of the major things the guys wanted was to win our trophy games. And so that's what we did. We won our first trophy game and haven't beaten them since I've been the head coach here. And you know the history, you haven't beaten them very often recently. So first time winning here in East Lansing in 19 years. So continue, got a whole long list of things they gave me of either first or tied this, tied that, first time since this, just continue to make history here.
Coming up at 6, Brad Brown has more from the Hoosiers' top performers of this past weekend and some perspective on IU's historic start. Kevin.
Well, as you look toward the weekend, of course, when IU and Ohio State play, Saturday looks good across the state. Our next chance of rain is not until Sunday, so we're beginning a dry stretch. Temperatures 47 in Peru, 49 in Tipton, 48 in Richmond in Wayne County. I point out the 40s. Everyone else in the 50s because the cooler air will drop down from the north tonight, set the stage for 48 hours of very cool temperatures tomorrow and Wednesday. Highs will be stuck in the 40s for all. Beautiful look to the west tonight. Skies will be mostly clear. Just because the sun sets doesn't mean our wind will calm down. Notice we'll still have some gusts over 20 miles per hour. The wind direction will change because of that frontal boundary that I was talking about. Sometimes the front will bring precipitation. In this case, I think it will come through dry, but it definitely brings a wind shift. That will drive the cooler air into central Indiana, set the stage for our temperatures around freezing or a little above in the morning if you're south of Indy, and then our modest recovery during the afternoon. Plan on a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Wind will gust close to 20 miles per hour through the day. It calms down late afternoon. Temperatures from north to south, from the low 40s to the north, low to mid 40s, anywhere right in the heart of central Indiana, and temperatures still middle to upper 40s in the southern portion of the state. Coldest forecasted low temperatures, I should say, are Wednesday morning, down into the low to mid 20s. That's a cold start, but we make a quick turnaround after Wednesday. It's all about changing the wind direction. Second day in a row, Wednesday will have highs in the 40s, most locations. But then, as we get to Thursday, another windy day, but a warmer wind. That will draw our temperatures back into the lower 60s. And the best thing I can say about that is those 60s will stay with us for a couple of days. So often you'll get a brief feel for warmer temperatures and then it's pulled away from you. In this case, it will stick around. 40s next 2 days, then 3 in a row, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, where highs will be in the 60s. Notice that stretch is dry. If we change the timing at all, maybe we get a shower late in the day Saturday, but it looks like there's a better chance of that as we start to cool back down later Sunday and then into Monday, where highs will go back into the 40s. So there's your bright spot, your warm spot, Thursday through Saturday.
Thank you, Kevin, for the warm spot. It's something many people just throw away. Still ahead, how you can turn a shoebox into a precious gift for a child around the world who's never received a Christmas gift.
It's that time of year when a simple shoebox can be turned into a gift filled with presents for a child in need somewhere in the world. Operation Christmas Child Shoebox Collection is underway. The pandemic is not slowing down this effort. In fact, it's created a greater need than ever before. Operation Christmas Child is operated by Samaritan's Purse, a relief agency. They are calling on families, churches, and individuals to pack more shoebox gifts than ever. You are asked to fill a shoebox with school supplies, hygiene items like a washcloth and soap, and of course fun toys, what they like to call a wow item, like a soccer ball with a pump or stuffed animal, for example. And also don't forget to include a little something about yourself.
One of the most important things is a photo or a note. When I went to Rwanda, when we would open the shoeboxes with the children, they looked for a note or a picture because it makes you a real person. It's very abstract to them. This makes you a real person, and a note that to tell them how special that they really are is absolutely precious. But things that we take for granted, like school supplies, just being able to have pencils. We heard a story of a young man recently who received a shoebox. He received pencils for the first time in his life that were actually just his and that they were not used. So just having pencils or colored pencils, a school pack that they're ready to go to school is a blessing of a gift. Even things that we take for granted, like their own toothbrush, where they don't have to share a toothbrush. Nobody likes to share toothbrushes.
Due to the pandemic, they are doing curbside drop-off this year at 12 locations in central Indiana. Locations have also changed from years past. You can check online for the drop-off times and nearest locations to you. Look for this story at WRTV.com. Shoebox collection runs through next Monday, November 23rd. One of the Indiana cities hit hardest by COVID-19 is trying to get residents to make changes to protect their health. What they need everyone to do. That's all new at 6 p.m. And still ahead on the news at 5:30, getting creative to see loved ones in a nursing home in the coronavirus age. How some solutions are making an impact